Hello and welcome to the Gavel. I am Terry Ikumi. It's just days now before the National Assembly resumes, and activities outside the chambers are already beginning to pick up. The House of Representatives Technical Committee on Customs was in Port Harcourt on an oversight visit to customs formations. The committee visited the Port Harcourt Area 1 and Area 2 on-air commands, where the lawmakers raised alarm over a possible compromise of the nation's security due to illegal importation of arms and ammunition into the country, owing to the lack of scanners in the nation's ports. The committee is also asking the Central Bank of Nigeria and the management of the Nigeria Customs Service to fast-track the process of automating the export processing procedure in the nation's ports to avoid delays, which has resulted in huge loss of revenue to the government. That's our first report. The Technical Committee of the House of Representatives on Customs resumed its oversight tour to customs formations across the country. After visiting the customs formations in Lagos last year, the committee visits the Port Harcourt Area 1 and Area 2 on-air commands. The first point of call is the Port Harcourt Area 1 command. The committee is displeased at the state of the multi-million-dollar scanners, which were purchased in 2016, and expresses concerns about the imminent dangers that could befall the country.
We discovered that scanners are in a money-bound state, and we ask why. It's the same answer we are getting all through, that it was when they took it over from the service provider and gave it to another provider who does not have the technological know-how. That was the beginning of the problem of scanners going down. And I want to tell you, our security is in jeopardy in this country if you don't buy these scanners. And I want to say that there's need, as we want to do thorough investigation into what led to this collapse. Because even though if you buy new one and give them today, same thing is going to repeat itself.
We have read out our reports to them. I'm appealing to the committee to please put their observations into practice or into reality. They know what challenges we are having here, and I hope that by the time they return to the National Assembly, they should be able to assist us and the service on how to move and improve our performance towards our revenue generation, collection, and anti-smuggling activities.
The chairman also insists that the House will carry out a comprehensive investigation into the abandonment of the scanners, which have decayed in various customs formations in the country, and appropriate sanctions will be recommended for those responsible for the huge wastage as well as loss of revenue to government. And just like the Apapa ports, the committee is worried about the state of the roads leading to the ports in the zone.
The road is wearing out faster, so there's need to make it a priority. My appeal to the executive arm of government, please take this as a message and work on it. We in the National Assembly, as the legislative arm, we are going to work with you to make sure this is done.
The committee also received performance reports from all controllers in the zone in terms of the revenue generation as well as challenges, and assured them that everything possible would be done to address the challenges for efficient performance. The next stop is the Area 2 Customs Command on-air, where the lawmakers observed a lack of automation of the process, which according to the Customs Controller Awal Mohammed has slowed down export activities at the port.
It's not that we don't have assets. It is a stable asset that we are likely to have. And as you have clearly said, Apapa is done, Tinkan is done, and this is how they will move. By the time they will be here, I assure you between now to March.
Because of that regulation by CBN, we have to do the manual validation of NXPs, and this means for us as a shipping line, we have to write to CBN with NXP numbers and then wait for their approval before we can get in those containers. Normally, if the customs control here has access to the portal, the TRM portal, then you would just do that and we can see that these containers are approved for loading. But the manual way takes us a lot of time, and we are losing containers to other ports.
You know, export is an injection into the economy. This import we are doing is a leakage to our resources. So why don't we encourage the exports? if you know it's going to take time immemorial to hook up, let the system be running and be going. Pending time, they will be ready to hook up with One. Not only One, I think it's other areas too. They have the same problem. What I was told that it's taking longer time for even CBN to reply this bill. Sometimes they will keep the container waiting, they will keep the export waiting. Vessel cannot wait that way.
Now, last week, my colleague Linda Akigbe had a conversation with the Director General of the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies on a publication of a study on public expectations of the 9th National Assembly. Well, that study revealed the communication gap that exists between elected representatives at the National Assembly and their constituents. So let's talk to a member of the House of Representatives on some of the findings of that report and how that gap can be closed. Honorable Awaji Inombek Abiante, representing Andoni Opobonkoro Federal Constituency of Rivers State.
I may not have the details of what the studies have reflected, but I would have been able to respond effectively if there are specifics of what they think, what they felt had necessitated that thinking. But since it's not available, it's rather unfortunate that people within that age bracket would have that feeling that the National Assembly is not necessary.
Okay, let's talk about some of the details that you are looking for now.
Then there's no democracy.
That's understandable. Well, let's talk about some of the details that you have questioned now. For example, representation. One part of that study also looked at the extent to which NAS members represent the interest of their constituents. And at the national level, 50.1% said NAS represents them to a large extent. 30.1% said a little extent, and 15.2% said not at all. Is this good statistics for National Assembly as far as representation is concerned?
Terry, if I got the statistics you reeled out quite well, 50.1 and 30-something percent, that is over 80%. So if over 80% have the understanding, the belief, and the confidence that the National Assembly is representing their interests, what they stand for, what they had hoped for, the 15% could have probably said something very outrageous, something very different, or something not applicable to the requirements and the responsibilities of the National Assembly as their own expectations. And it is given. There is no statistics anywhere that will guarantee 100% in terms of human performance, human behaviors, and human relations.
So when we talk about this representation that you seem to be proud of, what kind of representation do you think that members of the 9th National Assembly have given that would warrant that 50.1% which you consider a pass mark for lawmakers?
It's a combination. It's a 50.1% say yes.
To a large extent, yes.
Another 30% also said yes.
Yes. I mean, what's the representation that you consider worthy enough for these pass marks?
The cumulative of it is above 80%. If 80% didn't find anything reasonable, anything tangible, anything substantial, I am not sure they would have granted that rating. It is given.
But that's why I'm asking you, Honorable. What as a lawmaker, what was the level of representation that you think that you have, had in the past maybe 2 years? I know you've been there much longer, but because we're talking about 9th Assembly, that would make your constituents give you a pass mark?
By my nature, the way I look at things, probably because of my training or my background, I find it very difficult to rate myself. Absolutely difficult to rate myself. But I can tell you that in our history and that of representation, that we are doing things differently. And that is why my people are always with us. They're always encouraging us, they're always supporting us. What is representation? Representation, to my mind, is to bring before the assembly, to bring before Nigeria and Nigerians indeed, the peculiarities of who we are, the challenges therein, and seek attention, seek solution to those issues that bother us. And thus far, we are doing the much that we can do in this direction. And I can tell you that my people will always encourage us to maintain that we will keep adding to whatever it is that we're able to do for us.
Okay, let's go to another aspect of that study now. The aspect that talks about constituents trying to reach their representatives. According to that study, 57% of constituents encountered difficulties in trying to reach their constituents. 43% did not. Why is it so difficult to reach lawmakers, despite having constituency phone numbers attached to their names on the National Assembly website, even though quite a number of lawmakers do not have phone numbers attached to their names through which their constituents can reach them?
Well, you would know and appreciate the fact that the last year, 2020, was a very peculiar year the world over. For 2019, the assembly just started in June, and the members went on recess not quite long after, got back, attended to the issues of budget, and had to go on Christmas break. By February, March, the issues of COVID-19 came in, and you know the protocols, the non-pharmaceutical protocols require that people should not congregate so much. It also restricted access, even in the National Assembly. Getting access to members were restricted at some point. There were times when even our support staff were restricted from getting to the office. So if you take all of that, it could explain to a very large extent why it was challenging to assess members like it has always been done.
I meant phone numbers, Honorable. I meant phone numbers.
Want to ease it up.
Via the phone.
My phones are open for me. My phones are open. My constituency office is open as we speak. So I won't be able to speak for whoever was unable to reach anybody on phone. My phone is there. And don't forget also that you will cover the National Assembly. Once members are in chamber, it's difficult to assess any member. So you will not be able to know exactly when the constituents were placing this course. It could be when members were in the plenary, and it's difficult to reach members at that point. Because of the COVID-19 as well, the pressures came so hard when there was ease of lockdown. Not quite long, we had to attend to issues of oversight and consideration of budget 2021. So if you put all of this together, I don't know which you would have preferred. For members to sit somewhere, probably in the offices, and be picking calls from constituents and not be in plenary, or to sit and be picking calls and not attend to oversight functions, to sit picking calls and not attend to the issues of budget 2021. Given the challenges of the year 2020, I think it can be excused. It can be understood that communications were also difficult, even amongst those that have always been free with you. Getting to your office was challenging. At some point, when you are free to get to the office, you find out that you have so much work to do, and you could also let your phone rest for that period so that you can accomplish that which you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
The easiest way would have been probably do a text message and expect that members would respond. And I know that members will respond to text messages when they cannot be reached via voice calls.
Welcome back to the Gavel. Let's return to the conversation with Honorable Awaji Nombeka Biante, representing Andonio Pobunkoro Federal Constituency of Rivers State, on the study on public expectations of the 9th National Assembly, as released by the National Institute for Legislative and Democratic Studies, NILS.
As for the establishment of constituency offices, of course, every member has that responsibility to have a constituency office established, not just establishing it, to make it functional, relative to the environment where it's coming from. So every member is expected. And I think there are times when confirmations are also done. The National Assembly Service Commission sends people to actually verify, physical verification of where these constituency offices are located. So that should be able to take care of that. For members doing more of constituency projects, members have the privilege, I call it privilege, of attracting attention via interventions, you call them projects, to their constituencies. And these are benchmarked against resources available. There are times when no matter how much you struggle, no matter how good the projects are, funding is only 20%, 30%. But for some time, there has been improvement. So if that improvement is sustained, definitely whatever it is that members are able to domicile, members are able to attract, members are able to bring to bear on the executive to execute in their various constituencies as coming from them, I'm sure they will be done. There's no member that will be proud to leave an assembly and not have to point to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 things that he was able to attract to his constituency. I don't think there's any such member who would want to do that. Then the other issue of members getting involved in solving their personal problems, personal challenges, that is a little bit heavy for everybody. Yes, because of the issues of COVID, the economy, the recession, which is this is the second one within a very short period, everyone is endangered. So I do not know where they expect members to get the funding from to support their personal challenges, to help them resolve those personal issues, personal challenges.
All right, Honorable.
As humans,
okay.
As humans, it is also expected that wherever you can let others cry on your shoulders. That, I think, everybody, is not just whether you're a member or you're not a member. That is common to all of us, especially Africans. So that I encourage.
Here's another interesting revelation from this study, which I think that even you would find interesting. So it was observed that more males can access their legislators more than the females. Does that sound shocking to you?
Very shocking to me.
Why is it shocking to you?
Very shocking. I know I don't discriminate. Why is it that it's difficult for females to access their legislature? Is it that they don't want to, or I don't get it? But even in my constituency interventions, I do balance it. I do the balancing. Get the males, get the females. We are open to all. So it's quite disturbing if there's a statistics that indicates that more males are able to access their lawmakers. I wouldn't know. Is it that females have some constraints in mobility, have some constraints in making calls, or society has encouraged the male to be a lot more mobile? I still don't understand why that is so.
Okay, we're almost out of time now, but I think one of the other issues that was raised is interactions, meetings and visitations, meetings between legislators and their constituents. I don't know how often you do yours, but about 33% want a monthly meeting between them and their legislators. and their representatives, and their 24.9 wants that meeting to be held twice monthly. What's your take on the frequency of meetings between legislators and their constituents? And this should not be a vague response in the sense that, oh, we meet all the time, we meet when we can. Constituents want scheduled meetings so that they can look forward to such meetings.
Okay, my take would be as frequently as would be possible, as need arises, on need basis, having to put forward a scheduled meeting in some areas, not in all areas. In some cases, it could even expose the lawmakers to certain other challenges, one of which is security. We are not immune to the security challenges in this country. By the time you go and run a schedule at every third week or every first week, every first Saturday, we are going to be having meetings. You cannot guarantee whatever it is that could be happening. If you cast your mind back, there are lawmakers who on the floor of the House at plenary has raised the concern that they cannot even get to their constituencies, not because they don't want to, but because of the issues around security. There are others who have also said that they cannot even sleep in their constituencies. So when you put all of this together and you begin to make demands for one, to have a scheduled engagement, to some, it's very possible. To others, it is a lot more challenging. But we want to submit that a lot more interest be put in making the Nigerian space safer, because it has a way of impacting on almost everything that we do. In terms of visits, in terms of travels, people can travel between Abuja and Kaduna safely. The other roads in the northeast are also impaired. If you want to come down south from Abuja, there are also issues along the areas of Lokoja, Okene, and all of that. So in the southwest, traveling around the Ondo axis and all of that is also impaired. So if you put all of this together, it is affecting everyone, including lawmakers, and the frequencies for which they would have loved to get the interaction with the constituents. It's the only way you interact with your people that you can truly know their needs, know our needs, because whatever is needed in the constituency also affects me. There is water need in my constituency, it affects me because I don't have water. There is need for light, for national grid in my constituency, I will benefit from it. So it's when you interact with your people, you will be able to establish what are the most critical of all that you think. You cannot know it all. You need input. Where you are doing well, you will have the feedback. Where you are not doing so well, you need to improve. You will also have the feedback. It will sharpen the legislator and encourage those who are already doing well to do a lot more better. So the challenge is there. It's simple. I would consider issues of security as being very, very primary and paramount in terms of the empowerment in getting to converse and meet.
Honorable Awajin Ombeka Biante, thank you so much for coming to speak with us on the Gavel.
It's my pleasure always. Thank you.
Well, beyond lawmaking, let's see how federal lawmakers work towards making themselves more accessible to the people whom they represent. Well, that's it on the Gavel. Thanks for watching. I am Terry Ikumi. Goodbye.